doing an elution of our protein preparation. We have our bees, which have been incubating all night. They were just rinsed or washed with PBS, and they've settled out, and our protein is now on that bed. So in order to get our protein off of our beads and into our container, which is going to just be the well of this 24 well block, we need to pour in a little bit of elution buffer. Elution buffer is basically just PBS, that's what we've been washing with, except that it has 300 millimolar of imidazole. And imidazole is a chemical that looks very similar to the structure of the his tag, which is what binds to the nickel MTA beads. So that when we put all of that imidazole in, it's going to take all of the his tag protein off, because there's so much more of it. So, I have my protein, I think this is my protein elution buffer. Here's another lesson for you. Whenever you're labeling your tubes, use good handwriting, otherwise you really have to, yeah, I'm pretty sure this is my, yes, PBS plus 300 millimolar imidazole, pH 7.4. This is our elution buffer. So, generally, what you want to do is do a 4x1 elution, meaning that you're going to be adding 1 mil of your elution buffer 4 times. That's if you're using 1 mil of your resin. I actually used a smaller amount of resin to begin with. I used 500 microliters of resin, half a mil. So I'm going to be using a 4 by 500 microliter. So I guess the simpler way to say that would be use a 4 by whatever your bed volume is for the elution. So in this case we have a 500 microliter bed volume. So I'm going to set my P1000 to 500 microliters, and I'm going to start the elution by hitting right in the center. I try to aim to the center, try to kind of disrupt the beads a little bit, get them a little bit mixed up. So this is 1. So we've done 1, it's settling out already. Here's 2. Right now what's happening is all the imidazole that's inside of this buffer is now binding to those beads. I'm going to mix this up a little bit. And it's supplanting the his tag proteins. So that means that the his tag proteins are just going to flow out the bottom. It's almost like throwing a bunch of dust on some duct tape. If you throw dust on the duct tape, you're going to cover up all this stickum, and you're not going to be able to attach that tape to anything. So here's our last one. And this is a slightly smaller volume than I usually use, so there's a little bit less gravity pulling that elution buffer through. It means it's going a little bit slower. But if you take a look from the side, you can see, if I shake that a little bit, that the elution buffer has flowed through, and that liquid right there has all of our protein. So I like to get all of my protein though, and you can see if I pull this up, it stops dripping, but it's full of liquid, and that has more protein in it. I don't want to let that go to waste, especially when we're working at this volume. You want to get all of the protein that you can. So to do that, I'm going to grab a P200. I'm going to set it to full volume, 200 microliters, and I'm going to try to pull that out of the bottom. And the reason I use a P200 as opposed to a P1000 is because it has a finer tip, and it can actually get inside of that. So I'm going to kind of do a little rearrangement, pull that guy out, and just kind of go sideways here, and you'll see it as soon as I jam that up, start to pull it out, and then a bunch of bubbles are replacing the liquid. Do that carefully, do that a couple times. Turn it back that way. Then, if you just do that a couple times, you can get most of it, and that gets you way better yield. I'll do it 3 times for good. So now you can see, if you take a look inside of this 24 well block, we have a bunch of liquid that has all of our protein. So we'll just do this a couple more times. And again, this step is totally unnecessary, but it just gets you that extra little bit of protein, which, if you are afraid that you might get a faint band or something, or if you need just a lot of protein, it's totally worth it to do. 2, and I'll just do 1 more. And another reason is if I was to do this little technique with a P1000, the pipette tip is too wide and the surface tension of the liquid would not be sufficient to keep it from going back. So I can actually do this upside down and be confident that it won't go into my pipette and ruin it. And this is now ready to run on a gel.